Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in the last video, you may have seen that I ranked friendships from the cross-country quilters. Now I'm going to kind of do something similar, but for a different book or different books. So today I'm going to be talking about the Prince Warrior series. Now, I've read 3 out of the 4 books. I really want to read that last book, but it's not on my Hoopla app, so I just haven't like gone to the library to try and find it, but I do really want to read it. I would prefer to read it on audio. I actually really enjoyed the audiobook. It had all the dramatic sound effects. It was really nice for this type of series. But whatever the case, today I'm going to be kind of ranking the characters in the series, specifically the kids, because they're like the main characters. And I will tell you a little bit about the series. So, the Prince Warriors series, it is a fantasy book. It's written by Priscilla Shear and it's a Christian fantasy. So, it's really cool. It basically runs you through Ephesians 6. The kids, they enter into this world called a Horatos. They get to come in and out of the world, but when they're in a Horatos, they go on these different missions and they basically learn how to put on the whole armor of God. In each book, they've received like different pieces of armor. So the Swords of Rima obviously is where they get the Sword of the Spirit. Very exciting stuff. Each book gets more and more complex as they have to learn how to fight in the spirit, so to speak, when it comes to different situations. So they have to learn how to have wisdom when there's someone like trying to deceive them. They have to learn how to stand on the word of God and learn how to trust God essentially. Great books. I would recommend them honestly. Of course, it's not, the Word of God, and we always need to make sure that we're reading our Bible. But I will say that after finishing those books, I was like really encouraged to just be more aware that I am in a spiritual battle and to trust in the Lord and to allow Him to like filter my thoughts so that I'm not being like deceived by the enemy. So let's see, there's 6 that I'm going to be ranking and I will go in order of like least to greatest. I'm not saying that any of the characters are bad. I'm just kind of ranking it in terms of like who's my favorite and which one stood out the most. So yeah, let's go ahead and begin. So in 6th place we have Izzy. Izzy is kind of in the first book, but I don't think we really know it. She just makes like a short appearance, and then we see her a lot in the second book, which is the Prince Warriors and the Unseen Invasion, and then the third book, which is the Prince Warriors and the Swords of Rima. Izzy has like, I guess you could say, kind of like a privileged life. Like, I think her family is kind of well off, so she has like nice clothes, new backpack, and all of that. But we learn that like her father is not really in her life. So that's kind of like her dynamic. She is a very like carefree, go get 'em, tenacious girl. And I love that there are strong girl characters in this book because even though the series is called The Prince Warriors, you have your Princess Warriors too. And so it's really great for both boys and girls that are reading it. Um, yeah, so she has like that dynamic, which is pretty interesting. Sometimes I think she can be kind of like impulsive, but keep in mind they're all kids, so yeah. I just feel like her character didn't really stand out to me that much or as much as the other characters, so I did put her in 6th place, and that's pretty much it. In 5th place is Evan. Evan is Xavier's little brother. We see kind of a lot of character growth, I think, with him in the first book. He is dealing with just like kind of, I don't want to say animosity, but he struggles to get along with his older brother and kind of gets like jealous of him. But once he gets into a Horatos and starts learning new things, they kind of like work through that, I would say. And he is a fun character, you know, just kind of ready to do things. He kind of overcomes like some fears in that first book. And so I feel like he's more bold in the second and the third book. He also gets himself into trouble because he can be very impatient and not really like listening to the instructions. So, yeah, I think that his character is it's good for his age. Again, he is a younger brother. I forget how old he is. He might still be in elementary school. So it makes sense that he's a little like impulsive or like doesn't think things through or gets himself into trouble. But again, I don't find his character to be as strong as the other ones. I don't find his storyline to really be as strong as the other ones. I feel that other characters have shown more like character growth and have stronger plots. So that's why he is in fifth place, but still above Izzy because I feel like his character is still more memorable. So there we go. In fourth place, we have Levi. Now, he was in the first book, and he's shown a lot of like character growth, kind of like from the first book to the third book. I don't really remember like that much of his storyline in the second book. I will say that at first I didn't really think much of his character, but then when I read The Prince Warriors, The Swords of Rima, I just feel like he really, like I said, had a lot of character growth and took on like more leadership and had more faith. And so, yeah, I just thought that was like, pretty interesting. So that's basically why he's above the other two, is because he just had, I keep saying character growth, but he just grew more throughout the book, so you got to see more maturity, and I liked that. Storyline wise, he also had very good like storylines of just like falling or yeah, kind of falling into traps and having to deal with that. And actually, it's in that first book that he doesn't take the path that he is told to take, and because of that he gets into trouble, and that kind of stays with him throughout the different books, and so that's how he kind of learns. I think that in that third book he had the most faith out of all of the characters. And then in third place we have Samuel. So I really like Samuel's storyline. So Samuel is um he's very into science. So I like that little kind of personality trait. He does like experiments and all kinds of things, and his dad is also into science. I forget because his mom was a botanist and his dad is something else, but that's kind of like the environment that he grows up in, right? He deals with bullying in the very first book. And so he's actually he's like the kid that, um, first of all, he's being bullied, right? And then secondly, it's like maybe other kids want to stay away from him. And so he's actually really able to connect with all of these group of kids through a Horato's or through learning about it. So yeah, his character is really interesting. He is someone who like he focuses so much on logic. So a Horato's is really hard for him because everything has to be logical, and if it doesn't make sense to him, then he's like, that can't really be true. Like that's kind of how he thinks, and that's how his dad thinks too. So going to a Horato's and getting all the armor and stuff, it's opened up his eyes, and now he has more faith, and so you get to see that progression. I think that's very interesting for a story. So that's why he's in third place. Very, very strong character who I think is important for the whole series. Now, in second place, we have Brianna. So, Brianna comes from a poor family. She has a lot of siblings. She deals with feeling overlooked. She deals with jealousy. Like, she gets jealous of Izzy because she has all this stuff and she feels like people like her um, people like her, like Izzy more than her. Yeah. But what I love about Brianna, and I don't know if you guys are noticing a theme, but anytime the character has their own kind of like quirks and different traits that are very distinguishable to them, the rating kind of goes up because I feel that that's kind of what makes a strong character as well, is like they're easy to identify. They always have this one thing that they do, or you just get to know them more, versus just being a character that is like they're in the story, but they're also a little bit more forgettable because they don't have those things. So Brianna has this thing where she uses this really, really glittery lip gloss, and she's always like applying and reapplying it. And um, in I think the second book, when she doesn't put that on, you kind of know, like, okay, something's wrong because this is a big part of her personality. She likes to wear bright colors, and like her braids have colors in them. And so she's just really cool. Um, I like her character a lot. I feel like younger kids would enjoy reading about her. Um, yeah, she's very smart, I would say, as well. And she also, like, for the most part, like had a lot of faith, when they did their missions, but of course at other times, she faltered, and that's part of what makes a good character too, is like when they have their flaws and they have like their shortcomings, their ups and downs, highs and lows. So yeah, I put her in second place. Finally, in first place, we have Xavier. Xavier is Evan's older brother. To me, he's just the voice of reason, and I think I relate to his character because he always wants to do the right thing, and he always just likes to stick to the rules. Um, what else about him? He plays basketball, and he kind of, so in the other books, he was always the one like, okay, we're told to do this thing, like this is what we have to do to complete the mission. Again, he loved just like doing the right thing and didn't want to steer left or right from following rules. Now in the first book, he does kind of have like a problem with his brother where it was probably more of him like teasing his brother, but then his brother took it like a lot more personally, siblings. But yeah, and then skip to the third book, he's starting to just feel like insecure and starting to deal with doubts because this other person comes, which when you read it, you'll learn more about this person. And this person can play basketball like extremely well, so he's kind of like dealing with that. And he was kind of deceived too in that book. But for the most part, like he is just that voice of reason, and I had to put him as number one because he's the character that stands out to me. And like I said, I really resonate with that sentiment. And it's cool to show how, like, even if you're somebody who's like, oh, I like to stick by the rules, we all fall short. We all fall short of God's glorious standards. So no matter what our personality is, we really need God's help every day. And the traps that, or yeah, the traps that we fall into, um, due to our personality is like different from somebody else. So maybe you're not rash, but maybe you're very careful. But maybe you are overly careful, and so then you struggle with fear. Versus somebody who's just rash, maybe they live too much for pleasure and they're lazy and don't like to think through things. I mean, so all of these characters, like, they really matter. But yes, that is it. So again, in first place, Xavier. Second place, Brianna. Third place, Samuel. Fourth place, Levi. Fifth place, Evan. And sixth place, Izzy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you in my next one.